You're getting better.
I know. I've been working on it. That's usually Justin's thing. I refused to do it for the longest time, but I finally gave in.
It was good.
I thought it was pre-recorded. Yeah.
That's original every time.
Original.
All right, so I've already given away one of our guest names. We are at the first ever remote podcast in the history of Simple Church. Yeah, so Scott, big props to you for making this happen because it's quite a bit to it.
Yeah, it was a little sketchy at first.
Yeah.
But we got it. We got it. Yeah.
We did. So if you're a listener, if you're a listener, obviously you're listening. You must be a listener. But there's also a way to watch it on the YouTube. Yes, and you may want to watch this one because being a remote location is a little more interesting than our normal set. Mm-hmm. We're in the shop of Nobody Customs, and in the background there's a 32 Ford 3-window.
Correct.
And a 39 Ford that happens to belong to the church.
That's correct.
Yeah, so who we have with us today, we're going to start with Joel Williams, the owner of Nobody Customs. Mm-hmm. Thank you for letting us be in your house today.
Suzanne.
Half owner. Probably not even half, honestly.
Yeah, Suzanne pretty much runs it.
Yeah, I know. So, yes, but thank you for letting us be here. And then Tricky Lavassar is our other guest. They both work here. One owns and one works.
They both work. We both work. No,
good catch.
You like that?
Absolutely.
You like that? I have to give it to him. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, real quick, Joel, just for starters, because it is an unusual name for a business, tell us how you came up with the name Nobody Customs.
Okay. We were working on cars, working on everything, and we work on stuff that nobody else does. And people kept coming out and they would say, well, nobody will work on this or nobody will do it. And I would always do it. So Suzanne come out one day and she says, you realize you're nobody. Thank you. And
that's what a wife will do for you.
Yeah, she does that.
Yeah.
And she said, no, everybody comes out and says that nobody will do this and you always do it. And I said, hey, that's it. That's the name, you know. So
it's pretty cool.
It just stuck.
I remember the first time I heard the name, Sammy San Angelo is the guy that introduced me to the name.
Correct.
And I thought, Sammy, he's hard to understand sometimes. I love him. And I thought, he can't be saying that right. There's no way a business is called Nobody. Mm-hmm. And we came out here for an open house. This was years ago when you just had the one shop.
Just the one shop.
Yeah. And I thought, it's real. It really is called Nobody.
It
and it's been cool ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tricky, and we'll get back to Nobody here in a second, but Tricky, you work here now.
Yes, I am.
That's a pretty recent change.
Yes, very recent.
Yeah. How long have you been here now?
About a year and a half now. Somewhere in there. Easter was the year, so about a year and a half.
Right. And you were a fabricator and a body guy. Initially, and now you are parts manager.
Parts man, parts
and gopher.
Manager. Gopher, head janitor.
Maintenance.
Everything Joel doesn't want to do, I do it, and then I do it again for him to.
So you're the Scott Odom of Nobody Customs.
Exactly. So
that's it.
So head janitor, whatever it takes, light bulbs.
No wonder y'all so close.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Y'all have the same life.
Exactly. Yeah.
So real quick, Joel, going back to the history of Nobody.
Okay.
How long have you been doing this? Like, what's the story on that?
I've been around cars all my life. Grew up on a farm in Wisconsin. My dad was a car guy. I was the youngest of 5 kids. And everybody in my family was cars, And we fixed and repaired everything on the farm. And beyond that, we were building cars and doing stuff. So pretty much all my life. But then I went to school, auto body school, mechanic in the Army. And my brother and I had a shop like this. And this is really pretty much what I've done all my life, is build cars, hot rods.
So I'm glad you brought up you're a war veteran.
Yes.
Hey, what war did you serve in?
Desert Storm.
Desert Storm. Mm-hmm. What a cool name. Yeah, and I remember watching that on the CNN. Mm-hmm. CNN was kind of new then.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And it was fascinating. What are you laughing at, Scott?
The CNN.
The CNN.
The CNN.
Yeah, and it's really cool to get to hang out with somebody that was, on the ground, in battle. Matter of fact, today, you told a story today. I pulled up here to the shop, and there was a bulldozer on a truck. And you said, I've driven one of those. We commandeered one.
We sure did.
In the middle of the desert.
He said, whose is it? I don't know. But
it's America's now, baby.
That's right.
That's right. That's it. That's cool, though. So you've done this a long time.
Yes, I have.
And then here recently, you kind of made a big move, and you expanded the shop substantially.
Right.
And we came out and actually did Father's Day out here.
That's right.
Which was super cool.
It was great.
We're super excited for you. And it's like heaven. I come out here, I could hang out all day because this is like my wife says, I know what you're doing today. You're not really working. You're just going to the hot rod shop. I said, baby, I'm working.
You're working.
That's
We
right.
can put you to work, too.
Yeah.
We got plenty to do.
I bet you there's a lot of cars around here, man.
There is
a lot of cars.
We're very blessed.
How many cars do you have currently on the property? Just curious.
They're all his, because don't get me
Yeah,
in
we're not gonna
trouble.
count
Don't
mine
get me
yet.
in trouble here, okay?
Right.
We usually have in the neighborhood of around between the mechanic shop and the body shop about 30 cars in process.
Wow.
I think we got 36 or 37 here right now.
That's
Yeah, and
more
you've
than I thought.
And you've told me before, but just for the listener that maybe doesn't know anything about this, if somebody were to bring a car in that needs a total restoration, what's the timeline generally to get one done from start to finish?
If it's a restoration, not a custom, restoration will run, you'll be 8 months to a year from the time we start, but there is a bit of a waiting list to get in.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
It is. We're very fortunate.
That's
very
awesome.
blessed. Customs can take longer. Just depends on what we have to do. In custom work, it's kind of hard to put a time frame on it depending on what we're going to do custom-wise.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, it's really neat to see them start off rust buckets. Customers
is.
drop them off, and then they leave at the car show, World of Wheels. A lot of times they're
Right.
debuted there,
Right.
and they're just like jewels, man. It's amazing what you guys do. Now, Tricky, moving to you, I remember the first time I met you. It's a funny story. Some people have heard it before,
Yeah.
but you had a monster truck at the time,
Did?
and I didn't catch your name,
Right.
and I just put monster truck guy in my
Monster
cell
truck
phone
guy, yeah.
because you gave me your number. This was really when cell phones were kind of just coming on,
Right.
So I just wrote your number down and put it in as monster truck guy, and then the rest is history. So how long? Going back to the backstage part of Simple Church, most people may not realize that some of the crazy sets we pull off are because of guys like you. And that goes from a background you brought to the table before you found the Simple Church. So tell us about what you were doing before you came to the church.
So a lot of guys and girls know that you might have to have an enunciator for, I was joking with John, translator for our redneck out here.
Hey, we're in Keithville, baby.
Yeah, Keithville. We got John calls it the Keithvillian. Yeah, that's right.
K-Town. We call
yeah,
it K-Town.
K-Town.
Yeah.
That sounds a little more
Yeah.
hood.
Yeah, it
Yeah, the
does.
hood.
Yeah, I like that.
So I was in the film industry when it was real popular here in Louisiana, traveling back and forth, New Orleans, Baton Rouge. You try to catch a show here in town to be home, but you were traveling a lot, being gone. So lived out of a suitcase, an RV, So I built the sets on a lot of shows that, back then, and I was a sculptor, and then I got over to the special effects, so it's always cool. We got to build it, and then I got to blow it up,
That's
so it's
cool.
kind of both, but I was in one Easter doing a show locally here, and it was the first time y'all were at CenturyLink, and I had a background with Justin. Justin married my wife and I when he was at First Bossier.
Right.
I have family ties to First Bossier, being my father-in-law being the head pianist, still there over 30 years.
That's
still
right.
there, Barry Crane.
Yes,
So
know him
still
well.
there. So when Justin and I went into marriage counseling, we just had a connection. I was raised Catholic, so I was always kind of, I dated Baptist girls. I always got something out of Baptist churches, but when I went
Mainly
in,
Baptist girls.
Mainly.
but but I always left thinking after going to and so when I went and Justin and I talked, I was thinking it was going to be all uptight, but he was laid back and cool, showed me a whole different side of church I never knew.
Absolutely.
And he was still working there, so I had a tie with him, and then I knew about this, and I said I always want to go, so we went to that first service at Easter, and then it just kind of came. Then we were we had a meeting at a convention center upstairs. I remember we were not even downstairs yet.
Right. Remember that.
Yeah. And I remember we were doing some kind of volunteer meeting, and I was in the background. You walked through, and my father-in-law said, you and John have a lot in common in cars and stuff. So this goes back to cars. And so I kind of introduced myself, and I said, hey, here's who I am, here's what I do, here's what I have. If you ever need a monster truck for something, I can crush cars, whatever, because I had that as a play toy on the side. And, and I saw the trailers. I said, man, I saw the trailers were all filthy dirt. I've got time off from a show. Can I, help you clean them or something? Make them,
remember
because
that.
we were traveling. And, next thing I know, you're like, here's all the keys to the office, to the truck, here's the code.
Wash them all.
He didn't even know me,
I
really.
really
And he
didn't.
gave me the keys to everything of the church. Like, here's what you need. And I'm like, So I didn't have a place to wash the trailer. So I went to Scott Boswell.
Scott's Audio.
Yeah, Scott's Audio off
Yep.
the Benton. I said, hey, dude, I made a deal with the church, and I need to borrow your lot to wash, trailers on. So
Right.
I did that. Washed the trailers over there, bring them one by one by one, and then that gave me the relationship with you kind of as that.
Absolutely.
Then Father's Day came up.
Oh, yeah.
And then you said, monster truck guy.
Monster truck guy. Let me find him in my phone.
So you want be in Simple Church, Man Day. We have to go wild card.
I love Man Day.
We have to go something big, and I wasn't prepared, So me and you got there, and we were wanting to. I was wanting to jump the levee with Justin in the truck, but I said I don't want to kill the pastor the first time, out. And luckily, God was on our side because a week later the monster truck crashed and rolled.
I remember that.
And that was a different story. Bad day, and LB was in the truck with me when that happened.
Yep.
Very bad day. So. But back to that, we filmed the intro video. We parked it. We were at the boardwalk.
Yep.
We brought the monster truck out, a few other cars that we had out front for Man Day, and had it set up there in the boardwalk.
Yep.
So
that's the scariest vehicle I've ever driven.
yes,
I can tell you that. He let me drive it, and I was like, wow.
It's gas brake. You're just going, and the rotation of the shocks,
Handful, baby.
Yeah. So. Yeah,
Yes.
that was, I think the scariest I've been was having you drive it and me sit there and watch, holding on going,
Oh, God. What's he going to do?
Yeah, so.
Anybody's ridden with me understands.
Yeah, so.
So, Joel, that kind of explains how Tricky found Simple Church. How did you find Simple Church?
Well, you, really. You and David Gunn was huge with it as well. We did World of Wheels, did the shows, had the cars there. And not only has David been instrumental in the growth of our business with his show, but he was heavily involved with you guys, and you guys were always there with the Simple Church display. And you come and talk to me.
Absolutely.
And we started talking about cars. It was you, and then and Sammy as well, Sammy San Angelo. He talked about it for a long time with me. Sammy's big into cars, and we kind of. Through all of that, and then at the show we talked, and talking with Sammy, and he said he was having the Lifegroups out at his place working on a car, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it's a really funny story. I'm glad you brought up World of Wheels because I'd kind of forgotten to put this in my script, but it reminded me of how that all happened. We have a little minivan. His name is Astro, and some people have seen it at events and what have you, but most people don't realize why we invested so much in him. He was the very first vehicle ever donated to the church. So I remember I came here in 2009. It was sitting behind the office in its original, worn out shop truck shape. And I was like, what is this? And they said, somebody donated it to the church. It was Eddie Faith from Shreveport Communications donated. I'm like, what are we going to do with it? He goes, I don't know. Well, David Gunn happened to come by around that time, and he says, y'all need to wrap that van and put it in my car show as a promo piece for Simple Church. I said, wrap? What's a wrap? I had never heard of the concept. He goes, oh, yes, it's way faster than a paint job, and, the body works horrible on it, so you don't want to spend all that money anyway. So we actually had Sign It, which is a local company in Bossier, wrapped it for us. And it by itself, it sat in the World of Wheels. I wasn't even there. I was in Mexico on a mission trip. So Sammy took it up there and parked it, and that's how it all started. And now, if you've been to the car show for the Simple Church,
run it.
It's just like anything else. My wife says anything we get involved in, it just gets more amped every year, whether it's Bipsy 100 racing and the car show is the same way. We went from one little minivan to every year we try to have at least 8 vehicles.
Outdo ourselves every year. Yeah.
And it's never the same vehicles twice is our goal. And we've been in there for years now. So that's how many car guys are in the church. That you can do new vehicles every year for a number of years and not have a repeat.
Right.
Other than Astro.
Very
He's
cool.
special. But yeah, so I remember walking over, and I got to tell you, Joel, like for me as a car guy, it was like, I'm not even sure the guy will talk to us. I mean, because like display-wise at the car show, I would have to say humbly that nobody is like the top shower at the car show.
Well, thanks.
Not just the vehicles, but just the display, the professionalism, how y'all handled yourselves. So I was pretty intimidated.
Well, it's got better because you guys have helped out with it lately. So.
That's right. It's getting even better. But I remember approaching you and just wanting to connect as a car guy and just loving what you build. And I had met you once before, like I said, way long ago when you had your old shop. But it's so cool how a common interest in something is a barrier buster.
Right.
And you just start talking cars and what you're building.
Absolutely.
And I can't, I mean, you guys have talked about it before, the number of people that have connected to the church through that car show is phenomenal.
It is.
Oh, it is.
And going back to David, he gets a lot of credit because he had the original vision for putting the van in. He gets
Right.
all credit for that.
Right.
But he amped it up
He did.
when he started letting people in the show for free
Right.
on Sunday.
Yep.
Now, as a business owner, I run the church as a business. You guys have a business. That's a big risk.
It is.
To take all that income away on Sunday and say, we're going to just open the doors and let the people come through. But it is more than paid for itself. He would tell you that's true. And you guys are a big part of that every year.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping COVID goes away so we
Yeah.
can do it
I
in
hope so.
2021.
Hope so.
You know, and David opening that up on that Sunday after church service, that's people that never would have been. There's a lot of first-time car show people that have never even been in a car show before.
That's right.
That's the first time they're around. You can tell because they're all on the car. Well, hey, step back a little. But that being said, now they have the bug. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
that was the plant. You know, you always have that going back. What was your first car show? Where did you get the seed? You know, planting that seed, and you can see the kids' eyes light up and stuff like that. Without David,
That's right.
letting them in, that kid maybe never taken an interest in cars, and he might be the next builder out there that the go-to
Absolutely.
builder.
That's right.
That's cool. That's cool. So now we kind of know how both of you, kind of got to be a part of the church. So now that you've been at the Simple Church for a little while, starting with you, Joel, like what has the church done for you? Like if somebody was listening to this, some buddy turned them on to this podcast because it's a hot rod theme or whatever, and they were listening and they were on the fence about even going to church anywhere. Why should you choose Simple Church? What has it done for you as a guy?
Well, I guess first of all, kind of backing up at the time when you and I first talked, we were, we'd gone to church, and kind of like Tricky said as well, we were, we hadn't found what we wanted, and I guess that was kind of the turning point for us with talking with you, just like what you said, a common interest that hey, there's a car guy in there,
Yep.
and then we started going to the services and that, and it was just. It's put in my terms, I guess. I get it. I mean, I'm not when we have the sermons or when we have the life groups, it's just it's in simple terms that I really get it. I understand it. I get something from it. And as far as the life groups, I guess it's the friendships, the camaraderie, the things that we have experienced and grown with over time. Just building friendships and getting a message and. It's made me just a better person. It has.
Absolutely.
It really has.
That's cool. I think that's true for all of us.
Mhm. I have a long ways to go, but
Oh, boy.
it's definitely.
Don't
Still
we
working
all?
on us.
I'm a much better person, and I'm not the best, that's for sure, but I'm definitely a better husband, a better dad, a better boss, just a better person, and
Sure.
it all goes back to Simple Church and the life groups because. I finally get it.
Sure. I tell Joel people all the time that being a Christian is like being a hot rod.
That's right.
It's a never-ending project.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening to this and you're a hot rod guy, you're never really done. You'll build it, but then you're already thinking about what else can be done to it.
That's right.
And God's the same way with us. He's looking at us and he's like, man, he's come a long way, but I've got other ideas for him. And a lot of those ideas are uncomfortable. There's situations that we get into that are tough, but God's going to help us through that. And then Joel, I think about one time that they always say that you really bond the most during tough times. So this goes both for Life Group and for the church as a whole.
Right.
I know last year was rough for you guys as a family. There was a lot going on there. Both of you lost your dad.
Right.
You had some health issues, and I know for me, as your friend, it's difficult to watch you go through that, but it makes me even closer to you. And I can remember one of the most fun things, it's really an ironic thing to say, but one of the most fun things that we got to do as a life group is to surprise you and show up at your dad's funeral, way out of town.
That's right.
Yeah. Maybe it's Suzanne's dad.
It was Suzanne's
dad, yeah.
All of
Suzanne's-
Louisiana.
Yes, and it was just. I know it sounds odd to say it was fun to go to a funeral, but it really was because we wanted to support you guys, and it was just neat to be there and share that moment with you. Although it's a grieving moment and it's difficult, but that's what life is. It's full of those moments. Do you remember that day though?
I do, and we were surprised that you guys made the trip.
Right.
We were extremely happy, Suzanne and I, and Suzanne's mom and everybody else. And that's just it. When you guys come down, in a sense, it was fun because you guys brought a little bit of fun with it, and it kind of relieved us of what was actually happening and going on, and seeing you guys. So it was awesome. We really, really appreciated it.
And you bring up a great point, because it's a heavy moment. Anytime you're at a funeral, you're celebrating the end of somebody's life. Sometimes it's the long life, sometimes it's short. I think of another life group guy that's in our group now, that his son was tragically killed.
Right.
And we showed up as a group, to go to his funeral. And it's just the look on his face. And we didn't say really anything. I know I didn't. I don't think most of us had to say anything.
Right.
It was just our presence there. We have your back.
It's like a brotherhood.
That's right.
Our life group
Exactly.
has become a brotherhood.
It really
to
is.
rely on each other.
Absolutely.
Because our life group has grown, and we've been together for so long. We're one of the oldest life groups.
I think we are.
And we're so tight with
Yes.
that. We have a close niche of,
How long have we been meeting?
I don't remember.
Goes back to the World of Wheels. We
Yeah, I
haven't
know
judged it with the World of
Joel
Wheels.
kind of, when you mentioned how it all started, and Sammy saying that we were having the group,
That's
Right.
when
it rattled a memory in me that it goes way back to about the time his house was built, or his
'Cause
garage
that's-
mahal, we call it.
shouts.
Yeah, because we had to wait for a place to do it, because the whole idea, kind of going full circle back to Astro being the first donated vehicle.
Right.
The whole concept behind the life group is, yes, we are hot rod people. That's our common bond. But our ministry part of it, and we've done a bunch of them, is we take in these vehicles that people donate, and we do whatever minor repair they need to be prepped to be given away. And Sammy, and this is where Sammy's so cool, he built a house to accommodate that mission. Because he don't work on anything.
No.
If anybody's listening to this,
Sammy
this
does.
may be a surprise to you, but Sammy San Angelo never turns a wrench.
Never.
I don't think that's an exaggeration at all. I've
Nope.
never seen him work on
Turn a
anything.
paintbrush, but not a wrench.
He's a great painter, house painter especially, and he is a great detailer. He will detail the fool out of your vehicle. But he's not a mechanic, by his own admission.
But if you walk into a shop, you would think he was, but he has people come in and
Yes, and we bought most of those tools and put them in
That's
there
right.
as a collective group, because we
That's
kept
true.
getting frustrated that there weren't any tools there. So everybody
Yeah.
brought their own tools and stocked the tool chest, and it's such a cool experience to not only get to hang out together, share some great food, get a great lesson for the week, but then turn around and be preparing a vehicle for a single mom that needs
right.
one, or a couple that's down on their
Right.
luck. I don't know how many vehicles we've given away. It's staggering number. I should have kept up with it. I'm ashamed I don't know that number, but it's dozens of vehicles, and it's cool that we get to do that.
Very cool.
Very cool. So Tricky, going back to you. So talking about the church, talking about special times.
right.
I know for me, one of the most special things you allowed me to be a part of was the baptism of LB.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that day, because that was kind of a special day, and how all that came to be.
It was. I mean, you've been in LB's life. I look up to John. If anybody, John is the man. Justin.
No.
Justin and John are the two, but John's kind of like the big brother I never had, kind of thing. I get emotional thinking about the baptism there for a second, but LB's been my son. If anybody on Landon Blake, it's not little Blake. It's just LB. Every kid was named Landon, seemed like, when he was born. And so one day he was on the ball field, and I just yelled LB, and it came out and it stuck.
Right.
But that being said, he's just always been around us. He's kind of our little life group mascot, little kid that's trustworthy, because he was raised in a shop.
Right.
That you don't have to worry about, like, hey, what's that kid doing over there? And he's been backstage of Simple Church.
Yes,
he
he
is
has.
my go-to guy. I have a couple others, but LB has been my go-to person, fetching tools and stuff behind the scenes when we're rigging something,
Yes.
building something. And not only that, I put a lot of trust in him. My wife gets on to me because I'm hard on him,
Yep.
but I respect more out of him, and I'm trying to make grow and be a better person than he is. But back to the baptism was, you've just been a part of it, and me, I've always want to be a minister background and stuff, and you were explaining to me how everything worked, and a film guy that was out of town, kind of thing. I was house sitting for him, and a couple summers ago, and LB, wanted Christ to come into his life, and and asked me about being baptized, and Christy Aguilar and stuff. But it was more purpose for you, because you were kind of that father figure mentor for both of us, and to experience to be a part in the pool together, me and you,
Yes.
doing it together. It's a memory that we'll
I
never
cherish
forget.
it.
You know, we have it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have pictures and all that stuff. Like my wife said, it's not a picture till you develop it. Just because it's on your cell phone, it's not a picture yet.
I've never heard that.
It's not a picture
Not
till
a
you
That is
picture,
interesting.
and it's picture. It's
That's
not
true.
picture. It's picture.
Picture.
Not a
Picture.
picture till you develop.
Yeah, my enunciation there. Picture.
That's right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, to me, it's just a special day, and it's an honor to be a part of that. And I think, you know,
something
what,
he'll always remember.
yeah, and I just want people that are on the fence about either being a part of the church or even more importantly, being a part of a life group, for them to understand that, you know, it's a community. I tell my wife all the time, I have a group of guys. There is no doubt in my mind, if it was 2 a.m. and I have a huge need, I have a group of guys that will answer the phone and will meet the need.
Absolutely.
And studies show, this may be shocking to you guys because y'all are blessed because you have this group. Most men have less than one true friend. Now you might say, how do you have less than one? I mean, either one or none.
Right.
They have a lot of acquaintances and a lot of people that they interact with, but they don't have a real
that
friend.
dependable.
Somebody that has your back that will, and I feel like our group has a bunch of relationships within it where that is true. Not everybody's friend, but within the group, these 3 guys are close and these 3 guys are close, but everybody collectively will do whatever it takes to make things happen for anybody in the group.
And our life group is territorial. We're out in the Keithville area, so
K-Town.
we have
K-Town, right?
I'm not used to that. So I've lived here. I think I've lived here as long as Joel at K-Town, but we have a group.
It's messing with you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the hood, you know. But the out here, I mean, it's Joel. There's several of us that go to Simple Church, and what's unique about this shop here, as I was telling Joel, I said, 90% of us are all in this community for the shop, you know. But back to life group is, you know, you have different people, North Shreveport, South Shreveport, you know, Southwest, same in Bossier, but we all meet out in North Bossier. We drive, Joel and I drive the longest, and y'all think it's forever, but it's no problem for us to cross the river to come to you guys.
We're good with it.
But it's neat that in our area, like, hey, you know, we have life group guys over there, so we have a resource out there that we can go to. Father's Day.
Oh,
We have a resource. We have a guy out here, David's North Shreveport. We can go out there, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we're working on bringing the group out to your place once a month.
That'd be great.
That way you can share that travel time a little bit, but also just so guys experience this awesome shop. I mean, they saw it on Father's Day. But
And do a little work back here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Tricky, I appreciate you bringing that up because the 39 Ford in the background, if you're watching on the YouTube, that was a car that was donated to the church by a friend of mine, and we're actually going to fix it up, and we're going to sell it and use the proceeds to provide more cars for people in need. So anyway, it's kind of cool.
That's the custom I was talking about. It takes a little
A
longer.
little longer.
Just a little
longer. They don't make
We're
those
going
parts.
for 2024.
That's
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
Scott.
That's right.
When you have to hand
We're
make,
gonna get it.
yeah, when you hand make all the parts, it takes a little
Yeah,
longer.
exactly.
It's
That's right.
It'll be the
craftsmanship.
Rolls
custom.
Royce of the shop.
It's
That's
like
right.
craftsmanship.
But to your credit, Joel, you put it in the main body shop.
That's right.
Here at the
I have it
shop.
in here
He
in a
did-
paying spot.
That's
He
right.
did tell me that
So
when
it's
we
like-
hauled
That's
it
right.
down here. He said, "I want that front and center, so I have to look at it every day to make sure."
Absolutely.
Paying spot. I like that.
That's
right.
it. That's it. So going back to, so we're going to kind of hone in on life groups here for a minute. So we both kind of know how you guys landed in this group. When you go to the group on a weekly basis, and Joel, you kind of touched on this, so Tricky, I'll let you comment a little more. If somebody's, okay, it's been a weird year. Can we agree on
Yes,
that?
sir.
Just
Yes,
a
sir.
tad.
Yes, just a tad. I mean, we've followed Scott's journey through the COVID crisis by podcast. If you're new to this, it would really be entertaining for you to go back to some of the earliest episodes.
Yes.
Because really, the early episodes were all about coronavirus.
Right.
We got like 2 back
He had
behind the
Corona
scenes.
update like.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, every
we,
day.
we still have that
Yeah.
little sound
Yeah.
bit we can use
Yeah.
if there's anything worthy. Go ahead and
Right
give
there.
it to us just for memory's
Yeah.
sake.
COVID-19 update.
Yeah, so if you go back to the early podcast, it really turned into a COVID podcast for a while because that's what the world was going through. We were
That's what it
shelter
is.
in place for
Right.
8 weeks, and
Really?
yeah,
8 weeks?
8 weeks.
I didn't realize it was that long.
Yes.
Well,
Time
I
flies
did,
when you're having fun, Scott.
well, I was halfway through. I lost my mind for a little bit.
Yes,
so-
I'm not sure you got it all back,
Yeah.
but you found some of it.
Some of it, yeah.
But going back to, so as a life group, we actually did Zoom for a while, okay, because we were trying to play by the rules. So we did the digital thing. Then we met in a parking lot for a period of time, and then we found a big gym
to space out.
that was spread out thanks to Al Garza and Alita. So they let us use that, and then now we're able to meet at the office, socially distanced. We wear our mask when you come in and all that kind of stuff. So you got people out there that are listening that are going, is it worth all of that? Why would you take an hour and a half, 2 hours out of your week, as busy as we are, to fight through all of that? What's the big deal? So Tricky, for you, like when you come to Life Group, why are you there?
It's really, I mean, not to sound, we're all male group, but it's guy time. I mean, yeah, I have my wife and my kids and stuff, and now out here, I'm usually in a back room office, and other than just communication with each other, what's going on in lives, and yes, we have the common bond of cars.
Right.
Yes, we're not meeting in a shop right now, but we still talk. Everything's related. Car, hey, how's that project coming along, or how's that? But with the car background and stuff, it's good to see those people. It just meeting in person, you don't know the power that it has. Okay, Zoom, that was good. It was comical, funny, on
Yes,
that.
it was.
On that, we had a thing. No guy. I mean, every guy was laying in the bed. You're sitting there.
It
going,
was
hey,
weird.
Like, hey, dudes, let's next time.
I was working.
Yeah, let's
I
next time
understand.
find that. But anyway, that being said, it's something about meeting in person, having a personal relationship in person with somebody, keeping the social distancing. We follow those rules. We do that and stuff. But it's about that. You can see somebody's emotion. You can see that. On that. That's the thing about it. And it's just checking. We have a couple older people that have bad health and making sure they're all right. Because if they don't show up, if I was on vacation, I missed a week. You know what that made me feel like? That you called and checked up on me. Hey, bro.
Yeah.
What's up? Where you at?
Right.
I don't have.
Yeah, you're not in trouble for not showing
I'm
up.
not in trouble,
we just
but
genuinely
it's kind
miss
of
you.
like, hey, where were you? What happened? And it makes you feel good, because if you don't go seeing your friends for a couple of weeks, they're just like, okay, he's out of the loop.
Right.
But when you have a group of guys that rely on you,
Sure.
yeah.
And Joel, I know, like for you, there's occasional times you have to miss because of work or what have you, and you'll take the time to call me and say, hey, man, I'm not going to make it. And you always say you hate to miss.
I do.
That's always.
I do.
What do you miss when you don't make it? What's missing for you for that week? Because now it's going to be 2 weeks before you get it again. So
Well, it's like Tricky said. It's seeing
The food. The food.
that's food.
It is
That's
the
a
food.
big
I said
deal.
it's this
Food.
guy.
It is the food. Well, now we have to bring our own right now. So.
I
Yeah, that's why.
know.
Yeah, we eat good.
We do. I know.
It
Sorry
is,
about that.
It's seeing the people, the friends, and for me, we live here, we work here, and I don't get out of here much, because all I do is this is my life, and we need to do more as a family getting out of here as well, because Suzanne and I both work here.
Yeah,
But
you bought an RV to solve that. didn't
we
you?
did. We've used it once. But we're going to get better. We're
Hey,
gonna get
fall's coming. That's
That's
RV
right.
That's the
season.
thing, yeah.
But it's just the fact of it's kind of a release for me,
Yeah.
and to get over there and talk to the people and
Yeah.
get the message and just kind of a release to get out, and I need it because it relaxes me.
Yeah, and would you guys agree? And Scott, you can weigh in because you're in the group too. So,
Yay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, you there? Okay. Never
Don't
noticed.
you
Okay.
even.
but
Never
just to be clear for the listener, for our particular group, for any group, we have a common interest in automobiles. Scott's got a Jeep. You got 400 cars. Tricky's got a monster truck and other stuff you're building all
Always
the time.
build ADD building. Yeah.
Yes.
.com.
Yes.
It's not 400.
That's
No.
I'm just kidding. Exaggerate.
A lot.
405.
Yes. But that's our common interest. But would you agree that that's not really what we end up talking about?
No.
When we're together. So, Scott, for you to weigh in there, what are some topics that have come up that you walked away and went, wow, I really needed to hear that. I learned something about that.
Well, Charlie DiGiacomo's married life definitely stands out. No,
Yes.
God, I mean, pretty much any topic, especially when it comes to like marriage and stuff, because I am the one of the only 2 single people in our group, I think.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3. That's right, because you got Charlie and then Brandon.
You got more than that.
And
4 or 5 of you.
oh, really?
Yeah, John, Charlie, Twitch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You.
Sorry, I forgot.
That's
Sorry, guys.
right.
My bad.
Yep.
But anyway, no. But so like especially when it comes to those kind of talks, like that's what I really like to listen to and hear, because it's a growing experience for me, and I can take that into the future.
Yeah.
So that's just for me personally, and that's one of the things that just stands out.
Yeah, our series we're in right now is called Leading Through, and it's specifically pointed at the COVID crisis.
Right.
And I know for me as a dad and as a husband, I've been challenged in leading my own family. Because, Joel, you have a team of people you lead here. I have a team of people lead at the church. There's challenges for sure. But I always remind the guys that even if you're not the boss in a work setting, you have a leadership responsibility of whoever's in your world.
Right.
In Scott's case, it's 3 cats.
Yes.
So
Actually, yeah. No, it's still 3.
yeah, don't. What do you mean?
That's right.
Did you have to?
had to
Did you
count.
I had to
forget?
think, I had to
Got
count.
one missing.
It's like
Under the
Joel and
couch.
cars. You have so many cats, you're not
I
sure.
forgot
what
about
to
it.
do.
Yeah, I forgot we had that one in the back in the bushes back there.
right.
Yeah. So,
Sorry, I was getting attacked by bugs.
sure.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Where this
But
is-
but I go back to, like, I think about, we've listened to a bunch of lessons
Right.
in the time we've been together, and to be totally honest, we can't remember most of them.
But we
That's
get
true.
something out of it.
That's true of most messages. You go to any preaching deal. I don't care how good my brother even is. You're not really going to remember much of what he says until it applies to a situation
right.
in your own life, and then all of a sudden you're like, ooh. So Joel, going back to you, when you had your big health scare last year, I remember us having some pretty real conversations
That's right.
about life and why does this kind of stuff happen. And I can honestly say, and you can say no or not true to that, but I felt like you were better prepared for that challenge from being a part of the church and the life group,
Oh, absolutely.
because it was scary.
It was. I didn't. Well, you actually came in that morning. and
Yeah,
I-
tell that story a little bit, because it was not what we thought was going to happen.
Nope.
No, it didn't go as planned.
Yeah,
that's
so
for
just
sure.
Yeah,
give
and I'm
them a
not
look-
allowed to pray over Joel for any more
That's right.
treatments.
Exactly.
I can't do that. I can't.
So
That's
real,
right.
just for the listener, just so they understand how life is, just real briefly,
Okay.
what happened?
Well, I was just having some issues, having a hard time breathing, some chest pains. Figured it was heartburn, the whole guy thing. It's nothing.
Yeah.
And my wife said, "No, something's wrong. You got to go get checked." So I went in, and there was something wrong. What? And Tricky actually came in and prayed for us the night before that, and it didn't go well, but it did go well. I'm still here.
I'm not allowed, so
See?
I didn't. I don't.
I'm
pray
still
over
here.
him. Yeah.
So it was
Poor
good.
Tricky.
Yeah, I was
And,
trying to lead, but
In your defense, John came in and prayed the next day.
It still didn't go well. Exactly.
he's a little closer than I am.
And
too.
I'm a professional.
That's right. But it actually did go well, because I went in, thinking nothing was wrong, and there was. I had 95% blockage on what they call the Widowmaker,
Yep.
and I went right to surgery. Well, they couldn't get me in that day, so they admitted me, and then I went in the next day and had a double bypass,
Yes.
which was crazy.
Shocking.
Yeah, I'm like
2 days later.
No, it can't be,
It was shocking.
But it was.
Yep.
But went through it, made it through it,
Yep.
and very blessed that I have a wife that harps on me to go in.
Yes, absolutely. That is true. And
So-
I remember talking to her that day, because I'd come and prayed and left,
Right.
because it was going to be like an outpatient
That's right.
procedure.
Yeah.
No big deal. And she actually called me, and she's the one that said, can you come back? And I'm like, why? I mean, I kind of knew it wasn't good.
Yeah.
And I could just hear it in her voice. And again, I know it sounds crazy. It's much like the baptism of LB. It's an honor to get to be
That's right.
there in
Yeah.
those moments in life, because I'm a big believer that that's really what we're called to do. I'm going to just give you guys a preview of the lesson tonight that you're going to hear in Life Group. And it's going to be a hard one to hear. But basically, the Bible tells us that all of us are ministers. Now, you may not be a preacher, and you may not be a leader in a church, but he's called all of us to minister to our fellow man. the people that are in our circle, in our neighborhood, in our lives. And for me, I think it's cool to get to share the great times, like Father's Day and the open house here and celebrating your new facility, and then the tough times, loss of a dad, major surgery. I think about your back issues, Tricky, and some of the tough times you had over the years. And we've got to be there and pray through that. And I've been to a lot of procedures and prayed before you've gone in for procedures. And Scott, all kidding aside, we joke about COVID and the anxiety that set on you, but and we pick on you and have a good time with it. But at the end of the day, you've got support. You've got somebody.
Do I? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You do.
And because I can remember some Sunday nights when it was really bad for you, having you over, we play cards, just stuff to get your mind off of whatever's going on. To me, that's what life is made of.
That's right.
It's not just work and goals and performance and whatever we're trying to accomplish, because we don't know how long we have.
No.
I mean, let's just face it. Any of us could be gone tomorrow.
That's right.
This afternoon. I mean, so I think you got to make the most of it. And I think Life Group helps us take a time during the week and intentionally focus on that.
That's right.
It's on hump day, so it's a good break in the week. I look forward to that's one thing. Not just it's a good break in the middle of the week, but it's a reality check. Yes, with the COVID stuff, we've all got relaxed, sitting at the house. You go, I mow the yard and watch church on Sundays now.
Right.
'Cause the neighbor knows they with the whole televised or thing. They've never really attended our church in a building. They are new members, but they go to the watch parties now.
Sure.
But when he'll wave when he leaves and he's pointing at my ears like that, you church, all right, so because I'm pre-show and they're on their way.
Right.
But it's a kind of a wake-up call to kind of give me a gut check,
Sure.
kind of because you go, we'll get something, you're a great host, and Sammy, and stuff, but you're a great host to kind of give us those gut checks,
Sure.
and kind of.
I need them.
And I'm kind of going in a week, and you're kind of almost about to slump, and then you got these group of guys to lift you back up. And what you were saying about we're all ministers, because Justin, you and I and Justin have had some serious sit-down talks when I was switching transition before I came to Nobody's.
Right.
And this is where I wanted to be, but I don't know, and I don't have a plan. Then the phone rang, and it was Joel calling.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to talk to you. But Justin told me, he goes, because I really wanted to be involved in the church more than I was. And he said, you're our best resource because you're out where we need you.
Yeah.
In here, we've got people to do that. We need you out there doing what you do. You're,
Man,
you don't know me, I talk a lot. But that being said, but you're reaching out to people that we couldn't get to.
Now, you bring up a great point, Tricky, and I think that's people forget. They think that myself, Justin, even Scott that works at the church, that we have an advantage because we're professionals. It's actually a disadvantage. It is far easier for you to talk to your neighbor about your relationship with Christ and it for it to be authentic and real than for me, because what do you think they're thinking when I start? That's what he does for a living.
Right.
Right.
He's a preacher.
I see that.
You know what I'm saying? So, Tricky, I've always said, and I mean with total sincerity, that you're one of the greatest evangelists we have in the church.
Well, thank you.
Because wherever you are, you're representing Christ, but you're just you.
Yeah, and it's
flaws and all.
Well, it's flaws and all, but it's amazing. College professors and deans that have reached out to me, teachers from high school, and see where I'm at now.
Yep.
And just are patting me on the back, like, you were that kid that we didn't think you would go to college, but you did. Okay, and then you went from college and you actually, but now, but they pat me on the back for leadership and being a holy man in God and leading people to Christ, and not knocking on doors witnessing,
right?
But you don't even know. We have a bounce house company on the side, dropping off a bounce house the other day, and a friend of mine going through a divorce, thought it was okay, then it just turned nasty all of a sudden, and it was hot, left out of there, and I told him, hey, if you ever need to talk anything, man, call me. I'm here. Call me. But then I left, and I got home, and I told my wife, I said, I don't know what I was thinking. I said, I didn't even pray over him. I should have took more time to pray over him. It was hot. We were trying to get out of there, and I beat myself up because I had an opportunity, and I passed it up.
Yep.
And I was like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, and I passed it up.
We've even talked about that in Life Group too. So.
Yeah, that's right. But you joke about that because I'm a big believer, and this is going to sound ooh, but I'm a big believer that the Holy Spirit talks to us. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I don't mean anything freaky, but we believe as believers that there's Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. And the Holy Spirit's job is to make sure that we do what we need to be doing for the kingdom's sake. So like in that example right there, if that thought comes to you later, because it happens to me too, and I'm a professional, but I don't always respond the right way or at the right time or even am aware. But when he talks to you later, he being the Holy Spirit, you can shoot a text. Mm-hmm. You can pick up the phone and say, hey, man, I was at your house the other day, and and you're on my mind for some reason. It don't have to be weird. I've called people out of the blue and said, hey, man, you just popped in my head today. You okay? And they'll be, dude, you don't know.
How did you know?
How did you know? Man, I am in trouble today, or or something bad just happened. I don't think it's an accident. Mm-hmm. I believe that God talks to us. So all of us in the group, I believe God uses us to reach regular people because we're regular people. Mm-hmm. I joke about, I remember watching you walk across Hall 2 coming into Hall 3, coming to church, wearing exactly what you have on right now.
I've never seen him without that.
Yeah,
I've never seen him.
But isn't it awesome? You don't have to modify anything to show up. Mm-mm. What I'm wearing right now, I wear every Sunday to church when we met.
That's right.
It's a hoodie, shorts, and a T-shirt.
Yep.
To me, like being a guy that has grown up in church myself since I was a wee little tyke. My dad was a deacon. My mom was a Sunday school teacher. We had to put our best clothes on Sunday morning, put our little suits on. I remember all of that, and I don't miss any of that. Mm-hmm. It is so awesome for Justin to have the vision for Simple Church way back in 2007 to create an environment where you could really come as you are. Right. Church has said it for years. There's even a song, there's even a hymn that says, just as I am. Mm-hmm. It wasn't really true in most churches. You kind of had to polish up a little bit. You certainly had to act different when you got there. And I can say honestly, and you guys definitely can probably affirm this, that you can come as you are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Warts and all.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're relaxed more. I mean, it makes the down-home environment that we are, so it sets the presence. And it's so funny that you say that, because you can always tell who's visiting that day.
Oh, yeah.
They're dressed to the T.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look, we don't make you stand up or anything. Yeah,
we had a guy, right before we broke for COVID, we had a guy walk in with a sport coat on and his Bible in his hand. I said, visitor.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Nothing wrong with
cool.
it.
And there's no hate on that.
Not at all.
Not hating on him at all. But more than likely, two things will happen with that guy. He'll either dress more casual or it won't work for him. Mm-hmm. Just because you don't have to do that. Right. And he can wear his blazer if he wants to. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's cool that it literally is you just come as you are.
That's right.
Whatever you wear your gray T-shirt every day to work, and you wear
I wear better jeans and shoes.
And it wouldn't matter if you did, though.
No, it doesn't.
It wouldn't matter. So, Tricky, you touched on one more thing before we get out of here that is very important for, I think, the listener to know, because we're going to meet again as a church.
Yes.
Let me clarify real quick. A lot of people will say, why have y'all canceled church? I'm going to reiterate again on this podcast, church is not canceled.
Church is never canceled, really.
That's
We're
right.
having church right now.
Thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth, because we are the church. Mm-hmm. As people, the body of believers is the church. The building is a building, whether it's a church building or a convention center or World of Wheels, whatever. But more importantly than that, the church is still going because it's available through, watching it on Sunday morning. You can go to a watch party. You can go to somebody's house and watch it. But most importantly, when we interact during the week, when you talk to your neighbor, when you love on somebody in need, you are the church.
Right.
So the church is not canceled. However, when we meet again, physically is the way I like to say it, one of the things that is super cool about the Simple Church that all three of you guys have done before and can relate to is there are things for men to do at that church.
Absolutely.
When I grew up in church, and I hope the listener can connect with this, there was only two things guys did at the church. You were either an usher or a Sunday school teacher.
Yep.
That's the two things you were. Or you were a professional. You were paid to direct music or be a preacher or whatever. And I can remember, for that reason, most churches were built by the labor of women. They were the servants. They would do the meals and cook, and they did everything because a lot of hospitality is all you could do. What was so cool about Simple Church, and I think about all the sets you've built, Tricky. You mentioned LB earlier.
Yep.
Your right-hand man. One of the hardest working little dudes I've ever met, and very skilled to be so young. But I think about a lot of those sets that were built. I think about on in any given Sunday morning, Scott, you would get there super early when we were meeting.
Yeah, I don't miss that.
Yeah, I understand. But I think there's guys out there listening that do miss it, because finally their skill set was applicable to church. So they would show up and erect a truss or do the lighting or wire, haul a trailer, tow a trailer, fabricate, something that was needed for a special set like you do and Chris Opp and other people have done. I think for me, one of the coolest things about the Simple Church that's unique is we absolutely have to have volunteers to make it work.
Oh, yes.
And we have to have a lot of guys. And to me, it's so cool to have them, because we all know how this works. If you don't have to have something, you don't really look for it. If you can do it yourself, especially men. I don't know how you guys are, but if I'm capable of doing it myself, I'm not going to call anybody. I've seen you pick up stuff you shouldn't pick up before, Tricky.
I know.
Because you're just stubborn.
I'm stubborn.
That's how we all are.
We're going to do it.
But the church is too big for us to do that. And I've heard Justin say it a million times, and I can vouch for it being right next to his side. There is no way Simple Church would happen without the fellas. Right now, even the virtual stuff you're watching on Sunday morning, there's a handful of men up there that are making that happen. And a couple of ladies, too. There's even a makeup artist now. Just a little inside backstage tip for you. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, that's a backstage.
I have to pick on Justin. I was like, that head's getting shinier and shinier. I kind of think that. I was like, has he ever thought of a little?
Well, we got one on set now.
Film industry guys wore makeup. It's okay, So.
Yes. And it won't shock any ladies listening that the real boss of the set is a lady. She's like the director that makes it all happen. Jennifer's amazing.
She is. And she keeps us in line.
Yeah, she's
She'll
amazing.
She'll keep you fed and in line.
She does both still for the smaller set now. But I just think about, like, Tricky, when you mentioned LB earlier, I didn't want to just miss the fact that if you're listening out there, the church is going to meet again physically in some point in the future. If you're a guy, because you're probably going to tune into this because we're going to title it something guy-related, just know you are needed. And you will be appreciated, and there's a spot for you. Now, let's land the plane talking about life groups. You guys have talked about life groups and what it meant to you. Scott, you're in the same group with us.
Yeah.
Scott, you're thinking about starting a new life group.
I am? No.
This semester. Talk a little bit about what you're wanting to do.
Well, I'm starting up a Jeep life group. We're going to meet once a month and
just
go.
Empty every pocket? Oh, Jeep.
Yeah.
Vehicle.
Yeah, that is true, though. Yeah, every time I work on my Jeep, I'm like, let me just throw my money into the air.
That's right. That's hot rods of any kind.
That's right.
That's any vehicle. But so it's just a Jeep life group. There's several people in the church that have Jeeps. There's guys that I know of that I ride with already. So it's just a specialty Jeep life group, kind of like us, where we're hot rod. It's open to anybody, male or female. You just have to own a Jeep.
Yep.
And probably a Jeep Wrangler. I mean, we're going to say other Jeeps, but maybe a Jeep Wrangler.
Oh, wait a minute. Now you're hating. That's tough
It's
right
funny
there.
you say that about your Jeep Club, because I plugged it for you the other day. You just mentioned, because I saw it come up on the list there. A friend of ours, he serves as a volunteer, and he's on the security team, Shane, and he called me, had a question. He heard about our life group. He knew what was our life group about, and he said, hey, I just need some direction, which way to go. But it's kind of neat. He was a church member, reached out, and I said, hey, you need to get a hold of Scott Odom. He is starting, I believe they're starting, and I told him about Davin and a few others. They have Jeeps, and they're starting their own little Jeep club off to the side.
We are.
Cool.
And it was neat that this just happened Saturday, Sunday. He said, I hate to bother you when you're off. But it was neat that he knew I was involved in this life group, what we did in this life group, that I could point him in the right direction or get him help.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm still going to attend our life group. I mean, I'm not going to just quit.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Joel
got
excited. You love me.
I do.
But, sorry.
Go
Yes?
ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we're going to meet once a month in the beginning, and we're going to meet at Tamales, and then every quarter we're going to go on a ride somewhere.
That's awesome.
All right, so Scott is a great example. So for the listener, Amber leads our life groups right now, and there is a great list of life groups that are available, and they'll kick off really strong after Labor Day is the way it typically goes. So check that out on the app, website, find a group. But here's my real challenge for the listener. And Scott, you're doing it. You look back to the history of our group. It was a group of guys that had a common interest that started gathering together, threw a spiritual element into it, and now it's into this years and years of this awesome life group. You as a listener, you may be sitting out there and you may look at whatever list exists and you go, I don't see anything that fits me. It's not the right time of day, right night of the week. I don't see an interest I'm into. Here's the cool part for you. You can start a life group.
Exactly. Start your own.
Go grab you a couple of buddies, grab a couple of couples if it's going to be co-ed. If it's ladies, just go grab a few ladies. It can be a lunch life group. It can be a weekend life group. It can be done at night like ours is done. But don't miss the opportunity to share life with 3, 4, 5 other people. That's all we're talking about here. There are vast resources for your spiritual element. There's so much content available right now online that you can go years without running out of something to talk about. We only go through about 15, 20, 25 minutes of content on the long side. The other 2 hours, we're hanging out.
Yeah.
Which is, to me, personally, is the most important part of the life group. I mean, obviously the lesson is important, but
Yeah.
I think for all of us, the best part is the after show.
Absolutely.
The standing around talking, because then that's when you get into the deep conversations, or
That's
this
right.
is what going on, and
Yep.
yeah.
And
It
I mean,
makes
Which really is the most important part of the life group.
I just think it's really, it's really cool too, the life groups that guys talk about things that they wouldn't talk about.
and it stays
you know. That's
confidential.
what's-
We
that's
keep
what's
it
very
in the
cool.
group.
That's Joe. You touched on something that we really haven't hit, and we'll kind of land on this as an ending point. But yes, absolutely, it is an outlet for you to process the things
Right.
that there may be nobody else you can process with.
That's it.
And there is kind of a code of confidentiality in these groups of not going to blabber whatever you just shared, because once you violate that, then that's
yeah.
gone. So we've done really good at keeping that tight. And it may just be with 2 or 3 of the guys within the group
Right.
of 15 guys that you feel that comfortable to go, man, I'm really struggling with A, B, or C, or I need advice on this. That's what life group
That's
is.
it. And you have that talk afterwards, like you're saying, and you hear somebody else with an experience, and you go, "Wow, I'm not alone." You know,
Yes.
they're doing the same
that's
thing.
a key
you
thing.
know?
You're not alone.
Absolutely.
I was explaining to one of our workers here, we were getting stuff cleared out for us to set this up. And I was telling him our church is so large that some people miss that close connection of Sunday school or something. This is it, life group. That's the thing, is you
Yes.
can make a smaller group, and like you're saying, you don't see anything on the interest, find something. I've been in many life groups. I've been in a couples life group that was all the same age. Our kids were all the same age. We started another one. It was a little far to drive, but people. And the weird thing was, it was, I think, 7 to 10 of us attending it. Only 2 couples went to church.
Right.
The other people were just people in the neighborhood attending. We were doing. That's when we did the simple church lesson. Y'all did the whole thing, and it was unique. I was like, y'all never even been to our church, never even been, but they were attending the life group.
Very common. A lot of folks go to just life group.
There was. I mean, if you're worried that your group may be a little off, I mean, there was a group of haunters, and that means they all worked in a haunted house. And the common bond was they worked in the haunted house, and they literally had a life group for everybody that worked there.
Yep.
So
It's
I
all
mean, if
kinds
you
of
think
groups
if you
out
think
there.
you're maybe I'm a little
gamer
off.
or something.
Yeah, I mean, you could
sure.
start anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to wrap up, if you're listening, find a life group, or even better, start a life group. And for both, you can get Amber to help you with both of those. She can plug you into a group, help you find the right one, or if you're ready to be that life group leader, and it sounds so intimidating, I know it does. Those guys are not that scary out there. They're just regular people, whether it's couples, ladies, guys, whatever.
Right.
Just know they're regular people that just want to get together and do life together. So check out the app, check out the website, check out the groups. And until next time, when we do some more Backstage at Simple Church, all 3, 4 of you together, what does Justin say at the end of every message?
Peace.
Peace.